So today I wanted to discuss spring trail etiquette. I know everyone's been getting out a lot during the pandemic here to observe and see nature and everything else, and that is great. That's fantastic. I'm hoping that leads to more people desiring nature and more protection of it. But now with it turning to spring, the weather is changing, conditions of the trails are changing, and the ground is starting to unthaw. And I think people need to be reminded of how to properly use the trails at this time of year. My first word of advice is to pick days when the weather is still cold. Like right now it's below freezing, which means it's still rather good conditions. Except for when you get into the sun. See here, the ground is starting to get a little muddy. Starting to unthaw. And this is where it is key. You want to stay on the trails. You don't want to be walking over on the sides where it's less muddy. You want to walk right through the mud. What we're doing when we're walking on the edges of trails is one thing, we're making trails bigger. We're helping to spread invasive species because many invasive species like well-trampled areas, whereas the native species like undisturbed areas.
Such as the evil buckthorn.
And also you're ruining wildlife. Flowers, or your spring flowers that are all coming up, your snake cabbage.
Your jack in the pulpits, your trilliums, your mayaples, one of my favorites. Bloodroot, you also have your hepataka and your trout lilies.
It's all very sensitive to being trampled on. So that's why we highly recommend you stay on the center of trails, except for when you're trying to pass people and everything else. And one of my best suggestions right now is if you don't like the mud, don't go on the trails. Stick to the city streets. Yeah, see, there's other things to check out. There's lots of birds you can hear and sound and check out and see to identify. You don't have to go for the trails. There's plenty of nature that you can see just in your own neighborhood. Now's the time. And then when the trails are unthawed, you can get back out here. Also, watch out for rivers right now. They have the spring snow melt happening. And there's a lot of fast moving water, a lot of flooded areas. There's areas like in here. So watch out, be careful. For instance, take a look at this trail in front of me. It really only needs to be this wide, and it was a few years ago. But now with the pandemic, it goes all the way this wide, ruining all that vegetation on the side. All your spring ephemeral flowers and all that, they're gone now. This is one of those things that, because people don't want to walk on the snow and the ice, they're not prepared, they don't have the right shoes. If you're out hiking in the spring, you should have a waterproof type shoe, or at least be prepared to get wet and muddy. That is the conditions that you should be walking in, not treading and ruining wildlife because you want to try to get around the mud. Our trails have taken quite a hard hit with COVID and the amount of use and abuse that they've been receiving, and let's try to keep it down to minimal. You see right here, this is what the trail used to be, and now with COVID it is spreading out an extra like 10 feet or so. And maybe I'm getting a bit crotchety in my old age here, but also when you're out hiking in a nice nature, especially if it's mostly a single track trail, don't hike in a big group of like 4 or 5 or 6 all in a row walking across the whole width of the trail. Walk single file. Try to take it easy on the trail, especially when passing other people. If you're coming out here for nature walks just to be social, maybe go somewhere where you can do that, such as a nice paved pathway. Remember, some of us are out here trying to enjoy nature and birds and wildlife, and when you're loud and talking all over the place, they can't do that. Oh wait, see someone up ahead, guys.
Hi, David.
And another random piece of advice I have here for trail etiquette is be friendly. Say hello to people at least. Acknowledge other people. Enjoy. A lot of us haven't seen anyone in a long time, so all I know is there's a lot of great things to enjoy in spring. And I hope you get out there, but I hope you follow good etiquette and stay safe.